want to compare three different outcomes that we have now introduced in these lectures. And that is perfect competition, monopoly, kind of standard monopoly, and first degree price discrimination. And I want to focus on the impact on consumer surplus and deadweight loss in each one of these outcomes. So what we're going to have is so again we'll look at each one of these in turn, and using this demand and supply, demand and cost considerations. So let's say that we first talked about perfect competition using this graph. Now, one of the things that we know about perfect competition is that price will be equal to marginal cost, and you would have consumers make choices accordingly. So if you had price equal to marginal cost, okay, then what you would have is that I'm going to break this up into a couple of different areas that will be evident why in just a moment. What you would have is consumer surplus in this instance. Okay, the difference between what consumers were willing to pay and what they had to pay. Under perfect competition, you would have a consumer surplus A plus B plus C. There would be, in this case, with constant marginal cost, producer surplus of 0. Okay, we had no difference between the cost of making this and the revenue that firms get. So no producer surplus there. Okay. Now let's think about a situation with a monopoly. Same cost structure, only one firm. Well, that firm will choose the point where marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. What you have here is that you would have consumer surplus. Let me identify that just as CS, consumer surplus of A. Okay, now that's, consumers do get some benefits from this. They are able to buy this product. So they get some level of consumer surplus. The monopoly profits, and we'll just call that surplus, because that really is a kind of surplus, producer surplus. They get producer surplus of B. That's the difference between the revenue that they get and their costs. So they have area B. And there's a deadweight loss of area C. Now let's think about what that means. What you have is that the monopolist will choose to restrict output from Q1 relative to the perfect competition story to QM. That's the monopoly quantity, and compared to the perfect competition output of Q1. And we've got these losses to consumers, which are not transferred to the monopolist. Only B is. That's just pure inefficiency. That's the deadweight loss associated with the monopoly. You're going to get higher prices with the monopoly, Perfect competition will have lower prices, higher quantity consumed. Okay, so this is all standard comparison that we've seen before. But let's bring in this idea of the first degree price discrimination. Remember, the monopolist has to, in the standard story, has to charge the same price to everybody. Because they charge the same price, they have to take into account in their marginal revenue calculations the fact that they're going to have to charge the same price to everybody. If instead you had a situation where there was the ability of one firm or many firms to price discriminate so that they extract all of the consumer benefits associated with the with purchase of this good, there would be absolutely no reason for these people discriminating perfectly should stop at the monopoly profit of QM. Produce more. You've got people willing to purchase this above your cost. You have an incentive to increase output beyond the monopoly quantity because the willingness to pay is greater than the cost. Produce more. So what you see here is that you would end up with the same level of output associated with perfect competition. So again, this is with price discrimination. Consumer surplus, nothing. You know, what they were willing to pay is what they had to pay. The producer surplus, A plus B plus C. Given a choice, firms would rather price discriminate than have a monopoly. They can earn higher profits because they have willing customers that they're able to charge a lower price. So, quite interesting comparison of these three in terms of output, in terms of consumer surplus, and producer profit. Quite distinct in the outcome for those various variables. Now, one of the things that's noticeable about the price discrimination story, there's actually no deadweight loss. There is not you get the optimal level of output where quantity is such that the final person pays exactly equal to the marginal cost. There's no deadweight loss. It's just all the benefits are transferred to, the firms that are able to discriminate in prices. So it's not simply say that there's no deadweight loss doesn't mean that there's not a significant transfer from consumers to the firms with the price discrimination story. Anyway, so this is an interesting comparison of these things, and one that you should keep in mind as you think about different types of market structures and what the outcome